All right, what's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. This is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I'm here with my homeboys tonight, the OG crew, Joe Riolano. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing well, Tony. Panther Nation, it's Tuesday night. Guess what we get to do?
Thanks for bringing some energy. We got no intro music. Well, maybe if you're listening to the podcast later, you'll be able to hear it. But live tonight, we're kind of going bare bones. Hopefully, we even got a stream and everything is working. For all I know, Mel Mayock, good to see you again. I like that picture in the background, by the way.
Man? Yeah. What? There you go. Well, it is Tuesday night, man. We are the only Panthers podcast that does this 52 weeks a year. So happy to be a part of it. Tuesday night, let's get it rolling, man. YouTube chat room's already popping.
All right, the C3 podcast is by fans, and I'm not going to even say we used to say by fans, for fans, but that just seems the go-to tagline for every single podcast out there today. So, look, this is a time where we come together, Panther Nation comes together and gets to talk about what we love, the team we love, and we could really use your help to continue to grow. So if you'd like to help this show and you like the Panthers, I encourage you to smash that like button on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook Live, go ahead and hit the share button and like, and go ahead, put it out in a group. Go ahead and tell some people about the show. We could really use the help to continue to grow, because we are growing and we're bringing some phenomenal content to you guys still. Actually, that's tooting. That's a little horn tooting. But, guys, I've got some cool stuff. Yeah, I got some cool stuff to announce tonight. So, look, follow us on YouTube at @cat_Chronicles, on Twitter at @cat_Chronicles, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere you get it. And if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher later on, please leave a review or send us a message at CarolinaCatChronicles@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and know that people are watching. All right, guys, I guess the training camp schedule is the kind of news that has come out today. I'm going to pull it up. I think it was from memory, guys. Was it July 27th is when it starts?
26th, I thought.
I'm pulling it up right now. I have had a lot going on with what we're going to announce tonight. All right, training camp schedule. Here it goes. Yes, July 26th to August 13th is where you will bake and crisp. Bake and crisp. I guess it opens on a Wednesday, guys. That's July 26th at 6:30 at Gibbs Stadium. Now, Gibbs Stadium is the name of the football field at Wofford, right? Mm-hmm. Not the practice field. Yep. This is the event to go to because they really make that opening night specifically for the fan involvement, right? Oh, and look, somebody's already making fun of my weight on the YouTube saying I'm growing. How about that? You are growing. I'm watching you, 10 tizzy.
Thank you for noticing, Ken. 10.
I went to the gym yesterday for the first time in 8 months. So, all right. But this is this thing, the practice at night. First of all, it's at 6:30. It's going to be hot as all get out at 6:30 on July 26th. I can promise you that. But they make this the kind of show-off practice where the guys come and run out onto the field in groups, and a lot of picture moments, a lot of fan signings. So, guys, this is the place and the time, I think, to get down there. July 26th. Wednesday, it's going to be tough for me to get to that one.
Understood there. It's sad that they do it like that in the middle of a week. It's good for locals, I suppose. But for anybody who has a job and has to travel any distance, that can be tough.
Yeah. Mel.
Hey, for the first time in the 4 years I've been a part of C3, I am a local, baby. I will be there.
That's
yeah,
right.
It's like an hour drive for you, right?
All right. Which in Charlotte, I mean, it takes you an hour to get uptown. So
yeah.
might as well take an hour and go down to training camp.
Yeah, I agree. This is a fun one to go to,
Okay.
and it looks like it's a party. They celebrate training camp at Gibbs Stadium from 4 to 6:30. I promise you want to get there and do some extra things, because the earlier you get there, the more time you'll have to kind of mull around to get to the various types of events that we got going on. So that's the time to go. On Thursday, they're going to have practice at 3:10 in the afternoon. That's going to be the hottest moment of your entire life right there. 3:10 in Spartanburg is like 2 degrees from hell.
That's right.
So, Mel, you haven't ever been to a training camp, have you?
Oh, yes, I have. Back in the day, me and my boss at the time, who was a Falcons fanatic, we went to, it was one of the cooler days. We went to the Panthers training camp in the morning and went down to Flowery Branch to the Falcons training camp in the afternoon. That was pretty cool.
All right, so
I've been there. It's been a long time, though.
Gosh, it's so hot. Let's see. Let's do a couple of camp tips, right? So camp tips are this: bring water, like lots of it. Lots of water. Don't try. You can't bring booze in. We thought you could bring booze in. Ask Joan. Joan rolled up there with a whole cooler full of booze one time, and
Joan did?
Yeah, for like the whole girl gang, I think it was. And that was not allowed in. Even so no booze, lots of water. They're gonna you're gonna want to bring like an umbrella is a fantastic thing to bring, not for the rain but for the shade. And you're going to, I think that's about it. Oh, and whatever time you think you're supposed to get there earlier, because boy, I feel like I'm always running late at everything. And then second, the walk is so far if you park far, like when you show up late, and you'll miss. Man, this practice they're only 2 hours, dude. So they get started, they blow that horn, things go off, and then they cut that sucker off right at 5:10 or whatever to 11:30, and it's over. So, and I would also say that you got to make a decision. Your decision is, are you there to watch practice, or are you there to get autographs? Because the way practice has gone in the last 3 years, it's grown so tremendously that it used to be like you could watch some practice and run down there and get some autographs, but mugs are camped out at that fence the whole dang time. So if you're gonna go and you want autographs, my suggestion is you make one day for autographs and one day to watch camp directly. It's fun, it's cool for the kids, but it is hot. Joe, you know it's hot there, don't you, bro?
Oh my God, the year we went, I don't know if that was considered an especially hot year or not. But I'm being Puerto Rico sort of have a year-round tan. Well, when I came home, my wife didn't recognize me.
No, you look like a fried piece of bacon. You look like a piece of bacon.
Exactly. I was fried. But yeah, you need to come ready to sweat. You need to have your suntan lotion, and umbrella is a brilliant idea. And yeah, just be ready to drink lots of fluids because you will need to rehydrate.
All right, so
what was the name of the bar that you guys went to afterwards?
Gosh, what was it? It was I wrote a whole post on it too.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so we got some people on Facebook Live. What's up, Alex, Casey, Abe? Thanks for joining. I see Trip up there as well. We're a little off our game tonight because computer issues as usual, but and it's like the slowest time of football ever for the Carolina Panthers. But what was the name of that bar? I cannot remember. I got a post on it somewhere. But another thing is, somebody was telling me, I got it on my phone right here. You go ahead. What do you like to do when you go to Spartanburg, Mel?
Oh, it's been a long time, man, but I've only gone to the practices. I haven't really made an event of it where I stayed at a hotel nearby and hung out with everybody, which is what I would love to do this year. It'd be awesome to get a lot of the C3 fans that are listening to the podcast, everybody join in, meet down there, stay at the Hampton Inn that's nearby, go to a bar, have some fun. That would be classic.
All right, I got a piece of advice from somebody, and they said to go to the Beacon. And the Beacon,
that's a great place.
That's like a legendary place.
And he said they take like your burger and they put like a pile of fries on top of it or something crazy.
That is the place to go in Spartanburg.
From what I understand.
Carlton on YouTube says 4 years in Spartanburg, it sucks. It is growing. It's growing a lot. All right, here's a couple of things to talk about. I guess that I think we need to highlight. Shockhead said bring sunscreen. Lynn says bring towels, tent, or umbrella. Towels. Tin Tizzy said go buy a Cam Wow on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. And these are all things. Cooler full of ice. Christina says Jello shots do melt even if they're in the cooler. They learned that. So I guess that's how they got booze in. Yeah, it's so hot it melts Jello in a cooler full of ice. All right. So there's some cool breweries down there. There's some cool restaurants that we checked out. I'll get you guys some real details closer as
I have some breaking news.
All right.
What is that? Now we're going to switch sports here. We're going NBA. Charlotte Hornets have reportedly sent Miles Plumlee, Marco Bellinelli, and 41st pick in the draft to Atlanta for Dwight Howard and 31st pick.
Shut up.
Wow.
That's what I'm reading.
How do you feel about that, Joey? How does Dwight Howard help change the Hornets?
Well, I think he is. He's progressing. He's on the backside of his career, I hate to say, but even at that, he's still better than Miles Plumlee. Just big, strong, athletic, big presence in the middle. Not quite the scoring machine you want, but defensively and for rebounding purposes, I think he's just more athletic and will be an upgrade.
Now take that number 11 and that newly acquired 31st pick and move up into the top 10 and get one of those.
There you go, brother. Tell him.
Yeah. There you go.
I move up a few spots. NBA, but I just think that for all the Hornets fans, I'm sure that watching that they'd want to know that.
Right.
That's good. Thank you there, Scoop.
Cody says, well, knock me in the dirt and call me Susie. That's what he says.
Susie.
Susie. We will call you from Susie from now on, forever and ever. All right. What else did we want to talk about tonight? I think some people wanted to talk about us running down the schedule. And that is some things about, I guess here's a couple other highlights for the training camp before we move on. It looks like they have a preseason game August 9th. That's versus Houston. So that looks like it's away, I guess. Why is it on the schedule? So it should be home.
No. That one's at home.
Okay.
I think the two home games is Houston and Pittsburgh, right?
Houston, and so Pittsburgh must be game 4. It's not even on this schedule that they listed. All right, so FanFest is August 4th at 7:30 p.m. It's a Friday. They have a practice. Here's a kind of a cool gig if you're coming from out of town. Is hit FanFest on Friday night, stay Friday, Saturday, and try to get to Spartanburg on Sunday for practice. Or you could try to go 3 days in a row, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, August 6th, 7th, and 8th. That'll probably be in my sweet spot. But I don't know what
guys, think about it. That's just 6 weeks away. That's not.
No, it'll be here before you know it. It'll be here tomorrow, really. But I don't know what they're doing with FanFest last year. They had a lot of pushback and problems with the ticketing last year, and that it was getting such a popular event, and they expected it to be so big. You had to purchase or acquire tickets online. People bought them like almost immediately, and it was then people were selling them on StubHub. It made a lot of Panther fans upset because they're used to first come, first serve type of mentality. I haven't heard anything about that yet. I don't see anybody talking about no news. Christina says no news if it is being ticketed event or not. I don't know. You guys probably know just as much as I do. All right. Quick announcement, guys. Tomorrow afternoon, I will be releasing a special, bringing it back. It's been over a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I did the last one. Where's That Cat Now? And I was able yesterday afternoon to spend about an hour and a half talking with former 14th overall pick of the 1998 draft, Jason Peter, who won 3 national championships with Nebraska, struggled with injury in Carolina, and then his life really spiraled out of control, where he then got addicted to cocaine, which then turned into a crack addiction, and ultimately fell off a cliff with a heroin addiction. Guys, he has this book that we talked about, Hero of the Underground. It was published back in maybe 2008. This guy, dude, was, first of all, he was just this physical specimen of 285 pounds, athletic as all get out, never had run into any adversity, and then he ran into a bunch of adversity in Carolina, and we talked all about it. But, guys, he was taking 70 Vicodin a day at one point.
Whoa.
Like, 70 Vicodin a day and like a half bottle of Grey Goose. He had a $10,000 a week cocaine habit.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, this guy was it's amazing that he lived to tell us the story. He guys, I can't. Joey, did you get to listen to it today when I sent it to you?
I did. I listened to the point where I got to the point to where he started talking about his younger brother.
Yeah, he talks about his time at Nebraska. It's an hour and 20 minutes.
I'd love to talk about that.
He talks about Coach Osborne. It's crazy, man.
I have just watched a 30 for 30 about Lawrence Phillips.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember him, but
yeah.
He was on. I think he was on a national championship team. I want to say 95, 7. But yeah.
Did Lawrence Phillips die in prison?
Did he die in prison?
Was the best college football team ever.
Yeah. Did he die in prison, Joey Melas?
Yes, he did die in prison. They tried to say it was suicide, but most people tend to believe he was murdered. Not exactly sure why, but some of the autopsy reports, they felt there was no way the thing he could have hung himself the way they were trying to explain that he did.
Well, dude, those guys, they won 3 national championships in 4 years. He won 3 national championships himself. Not himself, but like he was part of 3 those 3. 95, I think it was 94, 95, and 97. Guys, in 95, they went 6 games straight. I want to say the lowest they scored was 49 points.
That sounds right.
The lowest. And like it was like 70-7. They were beating these guys. He talked about what Coach Osborne and him, his influence on Nick Saban. He talked with me about some other things. He talked to me about when he was flown in and met with Jerry Jones, a story I don't think he's ever told anybody, and how it came to fruition while he was in Carolina. The guy, really, I'm going to tell you, if you read his book, The Hero of the Underground, I'll have the links and all of it tomorrow out. It's such an intense read that it's hard to believe that, you almost go, man, this is bullshit. The way that his attitude about what he meant, like how disappointed he felt, how he let down Charlotte. It's right. All comes out in this interview, and it is 100% genuine.
No doubt, man. This is exactly like it was almost like a chance for him to what he may not have gotten to convey, or to share things that he did convey in his book that people didn't, whoever may not have read it, got to read. I hate to say confessional, going into a confessional, because there's nothing like that. But you almost get that feeling like he's wanting people to know this because he feels like he got a bad rap.
Yeah, he definitely, his book has a lot of that, and it's kind of seeps through. But man, he wrote his book over 10 years ago, and the same tone pervaded the entire interview. He talks about how he got in trouble in Charlotte, his relationship with the media. He even broke is that his brother is going to have a 30 for 30 done on him in the fall, and he kind of told us what that was about and some things to expect. And Joey, I will say this is go and listen to obviously you're going to finish and listen to the whole thing, but at the end he comes out and he talks about it almost being like therapy. First interview from a Charlotte perspective since he left in 2001.
Wow.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Who were the guys that brought it to Panther fans?
That would be us. CarolinaCatChronicles.com. And boy, and you know how the professor gets when it comes to where's that cat now. I dig back, I dig deep, and I pull out.
You do a fantastic. I remember Will Witherspoon. That was a fantastic interview.
Yeah.
So, you guys will have to check this out.
When this comes out on the website, do yourself a favor and listen. If you've been a Panthers fan a very long time, or even if not, you get a chance to hear some history about a player who came in with tremendous expectations and sort of, I don't want to say left in a shame, but things didn't work out anywhere near the way people had hoped it would.
What I think is crazy about it is that you get a real different perspective about how these guys play with injury. Now, I know that things have changed tremendously since then in the way, the intrusiveness of the game. But this guy, they were strapping up with their arms falling off. So check it out. That interview tomorrow. It's an hour and 25 minutes with Jason Peter, the hero of the underground, a guy that won 3 national championships, king of the world, came to Charlotte, had struggles, and then found himself at the bottom, and he goes through every bit of it. So, all right. Any other? Yeah. All right. So now, Joey, I think we've got our guest joining us right now.
It looks like Logan is joining us. Logan, I'm Joe Rolano. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
All right, Logan, you're going to have to pronounce your last name for me. Is it? Let me give it a shot.
Go for it.
Lamorandier.
That's perfect.
No way.
Try, nailed it.
No way.
You did it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it again,
that never
though.
Happens.
I am not saying it again.
Away from the beer.
All right, Logan.
I don't blame you.
Logan Lamorandier. Close enough.
There you go.
LionLowdown.com is joining us tonight to talk about the Detroit Lions. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for LionLowdown.com, Logan.
Yeah, so actually, this is a fairly new site that I created. I was writing for Detroit Sports Nation for a couple of years, and it got to the point where I kind of wanted to branch off and do my own thing a little bit and give me more autonomy and just have maybe a little bit more of an opinion. So that was kind of nice. So as of right now, I got some things in the work going there that hope to have some pretty cool stuff once the football season starts, once, kind of get some fact-based articles, because that's kind of always been my thing. I'm always infatuated by the stats and data-driven opinions. That's kind of my thing. So long story short, that's what I do.
Fantastic. All right, so we brought you on here tonight to talk about the Lions because what we've been doing is in this kind of lull period for us is that we have been trying to look outside of Carolina and try to get a better understanding of some of our opponents and what they have done in the offseason to get better. And we're going to be playing the Lions this year and the whole NFC North. And so what we need to know, or what we like to know, is your perspective. We'll talk first about free agency, and then we'll talk about the draft. What have you guys done? I know there have been some recent moves Joey was mentioning earlier in the show, but tell us what the free agency kind of positioning in from this year was.
Yeah, I would say the biggest portion that we upgraded was just our offensive line. We lost actually two fairly decent players along the right side of our line, and Riley Reef, and then also Larry Warford. So those two guys were actually decent starters, but we upgraded. We got a Pro Bowler and TJ Lang at right guard and Rick Wagner at right tackle. And surprisingly enough, both of those guys combined were than the two guys the Lions let go. So a lot of Lions fans are pretty happy that we upgraded. Maybe not so much in the run game as far as blocking goes, but really in the passing game and helping protect Matt Stafford, because truly he's probably our only that we have on offense. We have some other, decent players, really good players, but protecting number 9 is the Lions' new thing they really have to take care of.
All right, so focus on the offensive line. Didn't you guys lose a player to injury recently and then have to make some moves?
Yeah, unfortunately, and I know it happens in mini camp or OTAs, where last year's first-round pick, who played every single snap on offense last year. Not many guys can say that. Went through the entire season completely healthy, tore his labrum in practice. And so you're looking at usually 4 to 6 months timeline on that. So he shouldn't be around when the Lions play the Panthers. He'll probably still start the season on the PUP and then maybe even miss some time after that. So the Lions went out and traded for Greg Robinson, who in 2014 was the number 2 overall pick selected by the Rams, who has been probably it's fair to label him a bust at this point in his career, but sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery, a different
environment.
Yeah, man. How can you be good with the Rams?
Yeah.
I mean, even Todd Gurley stinks with the Rams, and he's awesome.
Well, you need to hope that Greg Robinson wasn't too big of one of the reasons why maybe Gurley struggled, but yeah, so it's not like it's a long-term fix. We just need something in the meantime. And then the Lions went out and signed another 2014 second rounder in former Alabama, I should say, Cyrus Kwanjo. Yeah. And he was actually according to Pro Football Focus, was one of the better backups in the league last year. And it's really difficult to ever have two good left tackles on a team because the position is in such high demand. Exactly. So you can't be too upset. You got two guys that can kind of fill in, hopefully, for, somewhere into week 8, and then we get Taylor Decker back. But I know a lot of people were really pumped up that we're going to have a strong line this year. And then, of course, the biggest position on your offensive line goes down in left tackle. It's kind of scary. Yeah. So, hopefully one of these two guys that they just recently acquired can at least be a decent stopgap.
That gives you a little bit of depth there. Should one guy twist an ankle or something, hopefully whoever the backup is can come in and fill his shoes, maybe just for a game, even, a matter of a quarter or two. I think your offensive line was something that certainly needed to be addressed. And you know, barring the injury to your starter at left tackle, you had done a good job of addressing it.
Yep.
I wanted to ask about the quarterback in particular. Is there anything going on with him in a contract right now?
So yeah, they're in the works right now. The Lions GM Bob Quinn has come out recently, actually just a couple days ago, and said he seemed very optimistic that something would get done this summer because Stafford is going into the last season of his contract,
Right?
And he's kind of been primed to be one of the highest paid players in the league, if not the highest. It kind of probably depends on if Derek Carr gets an extension this year as well. So
Right.
I'd have to imagine one of those two this year with the salary cap, how quickly it's increasing. You know, you're looking at your franchise QB usually taking up 15 to 16% of your salary cap.
Exactly.
And that will put him at the highest paid player in the league. So I think that should probably happen before training camp starts. All reports and all signs.
Does he want that? Is that what Stafford is looking to get? Or is he going to go the Tom Brady route and be willing to take less so they can get better players? How's your perspective on that sort of thing?
So Stafford has said all the right things. He said he's not too concerned about it, but in the back of his mind, I'm sure he would like to be the highest paid player. And, you know, you can almost blame the old Lions regime, you know, Martin Mayhew, the old Lions GM, when they gave him a contract extension a couple years ago, they only signed him for 3 years.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
It is. So they kind of set him up for this. They set him up for another big contract extension. When in reality, it's actually the deal that Stafford signed a few years ago, it was a team-friendly deal. I think like this year, he's the 22nd highest paid quarterback in the league, maybe the 18th. Wow. I mean, so he's not getting paid that much. And if they would have extended this deal just a few years ago and gave him a similar deal instead of 3 years, you know, maybe gave it the typical 5 or 6, they wouldn't be in this situation right now. So it's tough to say what exactly Matthew Stafford is thinking, but I don't blame him one bit if he wants to be the highest paid quarterback, especially being, you know, you can't say Detroit is the most desirable place to be in either. Right. So,
and he has had success there despite it being Detroit. And also, truthfully, nowadays, when those guys sign the highest paid contract, it's not too long before somebody comes behind them and signs for more. So that designation, you know, will only last so long. But it seems to me he has outplayed whatever he was making before. That makes him the 22nd highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, it's not hard to believe. He's definitely
weapons on that offense.
Well, yeah, and you look at the quarterbacks that, you know, have come out, and Cam Newton, you guys are set with him, but there hasn't been too many quarterbacks come out in the last 10 years that are really anything better than Stafford. And that's the difficult part, is that the college game really isn't pumping out quarterbacks like they used to. You don't see the Tom Brady's or the Peyton Mannings, or even Aaron Rodgers is probably the last one, I think, to really come in, who you could say is like a bona fide Hall of Famer, you know, and just that really elite tier where he can be on just about any team, and he's taking that team. Yeah. And Cam, yeah, I mean, Cam did that a couple years ago. Last year, I know, was a down year. And he's kind of like Stafford, I feel like, in a way where, you know, he puts up a lot of big numbers. I know I'm going down a slippery slope there.
Yeah. Look, Stafford had his best year last year, so I mean, you guys are feeling pretty good at this moment. But Cam Newton, let's just go. I mean, this guy, he's a different animal. But he does
a lot of stuff. Yeah,
he does have to assert himself into, because it is what have you done for me lately league. And so, you know, he'll be back around. But we have a question from one of our viewers, though, and we'll get back to a little Stafford talk. Is Cody asks, do you think Eric Ebron is a bust or not? Because there's the interest is coming from he's a UNC Chapel Hill, a Tar Heel, and you know, we're from the Carolinas, and that's our flagship school, even though I dislike them because I'm a Pirate. But what do you think about Ebron?
So he was kind of put in a difficult situation to begin with, being as a tight end being drafted 10th overall. That's pretty high for a tight end to be drafted. And so it depends kind of what your definition of a bust is, because I defend Ebron all the time because he's one of the better tight ends in the league. He's only 24 years old. His best years are still in front of him. He's gotten better every year. But he was put in a difficult situation because you had guys like Aaron Donald and OBJ go not too far after him. And so he's always being compared to two of the best players at their respective positions. And then you have Eric Ebron, who is like, okay, we have this tight end. He should be an all-pro like these other guys are all pros. So if you want to call him a bust, I don't go as far to call him a bust because he's a good tight end. I think just the expectations when you're taken at the 10th spot overall in the draft, it really is a tough situation to be in. So I don't call him a bust, and I think his best years are still ahead of him, especially this year. Last year we had Anquan Bolden. He is now gone, and when Anquan Bolden was injured the last few there's a few weeks in the season where Anquan Bolden was injured, and Ebron was the one to go in that role, and he had his best games during that time. So that's any fantasy football players out there. He's kind of one of my sleepers that I'm going to be picking up in the later rounds, just because he's going to have a much larger role in this offense. So it's fair to say that fans can be disappointed in what Ebron has done so far, but I want to give him some more time before I label him a bust by any means.
It's like you said, it's a difficult position because when you put that expectation, particularly on a tight end, is that all of a sudden they have to be transformational to a Gronkowski level or something, or what Jimmy Graham was. And while a tight end can be very good, very, very good, and we know this, is we have the top three, one of the top three tight ends in the league, arguably the second best in some cases, but with Greg Olsen, and there just isn't a huge fanfare outside of just the people that love him in Carolina, and he's putting up 1,000 yards every season and doing everything that you could possibly do, and he's not being celebrated but so much even among. So it's a tough position, and I think it has to do with not only the how high you picked him, but the actual position itself.
Exactly. And, Greg Olsen is actually one player I always compare Ebron to, because they have actually very similar stats to their first three seasons. And sometimes tight end it's a very difficult position because you have to be a very well-rounded football player. You have to be able to block, you have to be able to catch, you have to be able to run, you have to do it all nowadays. And Ebron, he hasn't really been able to block. I think they're going to probably take him out of that role. And that's one thing that Olsen, he's a very complete tight end. But as far as stats go receiving, him and Ebron are pretty close. So I'm hoping that maybe Ebron can take a similar trajectory. But yeah, Olsen's one of the good ones. And
that's a great comparison. Joey was a huge fan of Greg Olsen coming out of the draft, and he was like, we got to get him. And then he goes to Chicago, and he's pretty good, but not good enough to where they trade him to us for a 6th-round pick, I think. And then all of a sudden he really hits that peak of his career. So that would be interesting to see. Sometimes it is we try to speed these guys up a little bit too much, or the expectation is that they come in and from day one they make an impact. I got another question for you just before we get to some draft stuff and Megatron. Everybody wants to know about Megatron and why you guys killed him. But is it true? And I read, somebody told me this, that you guys haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2004.
That's not totally true, because if you go by 1,000 yards, Reggie Bush had 1,000 yards. He had 1,006 yards.
Oh, was that last year?
No, so it was a few years ago. I want to say it was 2013. But yeah, so he had just over 1,000 yards. But other than that, we haven't had anyone close. Yeah, it could have been all the way back till 2004. It was a long time. Kevin Jones is probably the last one to do it. And again, I think he just went slightly over
Right.
But no, yeah, the Lions their rushing game has struggled for such a long time, and outside of that,
you really haven't felt comfortable at running back really since the Barry Sanders days.
Exactly.
No, it's so true. It's so true. The Lions had James Stewart, who was a serviceable back after Barry Sanders, but he wasn't anything spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And then Reggie Bush was probably Kevin Jones for 1 year, and then Reggie Bush for 1 year. Other than that, we haven't had really any threat at running back. So, if you're going by running backs to help Matt Stafford, he's never really had a running game.
And
I'd love to throw out if you don't mind, Professor, just throw out a quick question. What is the feeling around Motown? What is the expectation for this year? Is there a feeling that you have a shot against somebody like Green Bay? Do you think you got a shot at the NFC North, or is everybody resided to fighting it out for the wild card spot?
Well, a lot of Lions fans believe, and I would tend to agree, that the Lions had the best offseason out of any of the NFC North teams. Green Bay, outside of signing Martellus Bennett, really didn't do a ton of upgrading, and they had some major holes on defense. And then on offense,
they did lose Julius Peppers.
They did, yeah. I guess they lost Julius Peppers. They brought back Devon House, their corner, because that was probably their weakest position. And they just had so many injuries last year. But their defense in general, they drafted a lot of players to try to beef up the defense, but they didn't really do a ton in free agency. And I know that's been a point of contention for a lot of Green Bay fans, is that they feel that Ted Thompson, their GM, isn't doing enough in free agency to really build around Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot of Lions fans, including myself, that Minnesota could still be there. They fell off the map last year, but the Lions have a good shot.
They lost Captain Merlin. They lost one of their starting corners.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys got him back. He went back to Carolina, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So there's a good optimism, and I wouldn't say it's that the Lions fans are thinking like 12-4 or anything like that, but a lot of fans are easily seeing 10-6 and beating Green Bay the last game of the year, similar to what happened last year, where Green Bay came into Detroit with the division on the line the last week of the season, and Green Bay won. So I think a lot of fans would be happy if that were the case, and this time the tables would be turned. The Lions could win the division for the first time since 1991.
I'm good with that so long as one of the 6 is against the Panthers. But the rest of the year, man, good luck, buddy. Go get them.
Well, thanks, yeah.
How long has it been since the Lions made the playoffs?
Well, they made the playoffs last year. They squeaked in.
Yeah.
They backed
They were pretty
themselves.
good last year.
Well, because they went on a pretty big run, and then they lost their last 4 games, if you include the wild card game. They pretty much went through the buzzsaw of playing the Giants, Seattle, Green Bay.
I thought they were surprisingly good last year after losing Megatron.
Season, man. Tough way to end the season.
Yeah. And then, with losing Megatron, it surprised a lot of people.
all right, so tell us about that. What did you guys do to Megatron? Why did you kill him? And this is what Tin Tizzy said on YouTube, is that you killed him and that you ran him into the ground, and very much like he said that he's the wide receiver version of Barry Sanders.
And it's a very fair comparison if you think about it, because both of them retired at a young age. Or not young, I should say, but at an age where they still have some left in the tank. And I think, a little bit, they probably just got fed up with the losing. It didn't really appear that the Lions were really in any spot to contend or Super Bowl favorites by any mean. And Megatron just had to deal every single year with these corners just taking out his legs and his ankles. He was always dealing with injuries. He was always dinged up. He actually rarely ever practiced towards the end of his career. It was one of those things where he was always hurt. And when he first retired, that's what he said his reasoning was, is that he was just having too much issues. He wanted to retire, healthy and not be crippled, trying to walk. You see all those 50-year-old NFL players that, it's tough for them to even stand up, and you look at his hands and they're all bent out of shape. So I don't blame him. And then this past off season, it kind of came out that he wasn't too happy with the way that the Lions handled his departure.
Yeah.
Where he had to pay back $1 million in a signing bonus. And that obviously kind of rubbed him the wrong way a little bit. And I can think that's fair to say that he has a reason to be upset. So, yeah, it's as the time goes on, he's kind of said more things where you start to hear a little bit more about the story. And there's rumors that the Lions were even thinking about they were going to want him to take a pay cut last year, or that they were going to have to release him. So it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, there was the rumor. I mean, there was rumors that he could be traded at the end and some things like that. I heard. I think he was at like the Rams mini camp or something crazy, like helping
the Raiders.
Was it the Raiders? Yeah, helping another team. So, boy, that's not necessarily the best look for an organization that is trying to, I guess, I don't know, endear some people when you're not endearing them with success.
Yeah, and he
that's not too unlike the Steve Smith situation though in Carolina.
Right?
The way it went down, yeah, you're right, man. The way
it does happen everywhere. It's not just Detroit.
Yeah, it's tough, and you always hear about the Patriot way with the Lions having their GM being an understudy of Belichick. Bob Quinn coming over from the Patriots organization. We hear it so much about the Patriots way. And, sometimes you have to make those tough decisions.
Screw the Patriots.
Whatever they're doing it right, though. So it's the copycat league.
All right, let's move on to the draft a little bit. Tell us about what the Lions did in the draft that's going to help them continue to capitalize on some of the success that they've been able to get in the last year or two.
Yeah, so outside of that offensive line last year, by far, I would say their biggest weakness was at linebacker. DeAndre Levy, he had been hurt the last couple of years, pretty much didn't play. When he did return, he was still semi-injured, and you could just tell his heart wasn't really there. He might not even play football anymore. So the Lions drafted Jared Davis out of Florida, a middle linebacker. He's projected to start right away. And it should be a huge upgrade from anything that the Lions put on the field last offseason, even from him being a rookie.
I think the strength of your draft is round 2. Tease Tabor.
And that was a very controversial pick just because of his athletic profile. You don't see too many corners with, running in the mid 4.6s and just all of his agility. It's very low, but you know what? You got to love a player. Yeah, you got to love a player that when you watch him play, you see him as a top 15 type player. You run it through the combine and you stack up his skills and his athletic profile, and then all of a sudden you start sliding him down, right? Like the Panthers got middle linebacker out of Clemson, Bullware, where you turn on the tape and you're like, dang, he's a beast. And then you start looking at his measurables and you go, well, I don't know.
I tell you what, though, man, here's the big deal about, and this is where they can be concerned, guys, a little bit, is that those weaknesses don't show in the college game as much. And
but you put them in the right system. You put them in the right system.
I mean, that helps. But I'm telling you, man, is that all of a sudden when offensive linemen are running 4.6s, you know what I mean, or whatever, something crazy like that.
Defensive ends outrunning our corner.
Yeah, right. Is that when you have that, all of a sudden those things start to, that didn't look apparent in college, do, you know what I mean? And it's almost to the point where you get this, is sometimes you get a player who looks so phenomenal in college and is just dogging everybody, and then they go to the pros and all of a sudden they seem they're more normal.
Right.
Which is what Reggie Bush was.
Yeah, exactly. So controversy surrounding that second pick. How do you feel about it? And
I think I feel all right with it, just because the Lions, they didn't struggle with getting burned deep. They kind of played a bend but don't break defense last year. That's just kind of what they do. So if Tabor, if he can just keep the ball in front of him, not let him anything behind him, he has the elite instincts and that ball hawk trait that's sometimes very difficult to find, because sometimes the best athletes, they don't have that ball hawk gene, and they don't do anything. And Tabor, he already actually had a couple nice picks, and I know it's just non-padded practices, but he showed well against
who he measures favorably. We had a
former
cornerback here in Carolina.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Josh Norman.
Yeah,
Josh Norman.
Yeah. And that's what I've been comparing him to.
Yeah, that's what Cody was saying in YouTube, is that Josh Norman ran a 4.67.
Right.
Yeah.
And Josh Norman was a system guy. In our system, he could excel. But in a different system, he's just run of the mill.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to tell you what, is when it comes to a corner or so many positions in the NFL, it has a lot to do with how you play, but you can't look at it in isolation. Man, if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, a corner has no shot. They can't cover guys for 5. You don't need to be running 40 yards with a corner. With a wide receiver. If you're running 40 yards
let's just hope Tabor's not guarding Randall Cobb one-on-one when the Lions are not blitzing or bringing pressure.
Oh, you put him on. Him and Benjamin can slow trot down the field together. They'll be best friends. All right. So what else did you guys do in the draft other than Tabor?
Yep. So Kenny Galladay, who is a guy who flew under the radar for the most part from a lot of fans. He played in Northern Illinois, but he's a receiver, and he looks the part of a prototypical number 1 receiver. He's 6'4", 218, ran a 4.5 flat, can jump out of the building. But he went to a smaller school. He wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. He grew a bunch, after he got out. And I think with his first or second, freshman or sophomore, I want to say he grew 5 inches or something crazy like that. Jesus. So
that happened to Allen Robinson, dude. Allen Robinson had to miss. Allen Robinson had to miss his junior year of high school because of football, because he grew 6 inches in 6 weeks or something mess like that.
Yeah, it was just awkward. You can't do anything. You can't move. You have to kind of go into the body a little bit. Yeah, it's crazy. So, with Galladay, he's had, again, he looks to be right now the early favorite for the number 3 receiver role. And behind Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, the Lions don't have a ton of depth. You're probably looking at a lot more 2 running back or 2 tight end sets with kind of the personnel that we have there. And so, I think Kenny Galladay, he'll be our biggest receiver. Hopefully he'll be a red zone threat. He's had plenty of one-handed grabs coming out of OTAs and mini camp, and it looks promising, although very early, that he might be able to at least contribute in his rookie season. But kind of going on the list, going from there, the Lions also cited Michael Roberts and Jalen Reeves-Maven. Maven is a smaller kind of your hybrid linebacker, again, to fortify that. And then, Michael Roberts out of Toledo is a tight end. What's nice about him is he's your little prototypical tight end, can block a little bit, can also catch, but it allows Ebron to move into, like we talked about, at that Bolden role, kind of a hybrid tight end slot guy.
Right.
That might be the biggest benefactor of getting Michael Roberts. And actually, we signed a guy, Darren Fells from Arizona as well, a tight end, who, again, will kind of alleviate Ebron's role of being that inline tight end.
Now, let me ask you this: since we're getting to the back end picks of the draft, when you're just looking at the draft and maybe from last year as well, you guys have had this limited success, except for 2014. You go 11-5. You can't bust that 7-win. Last year, 9 wins. It looked like, but. What is there any? Do you see any improvement in the philosophy that the team is moving forward? Are they adapting in a positive way, or are you just still in that kind of rut to where it's going to be hard to burst through that ceiling?
Our biggest issue, and Stafford is, we mentioned it earlier, is just the running game. We've never really had a running game. We're always in the bottom 3 like every year. And so when it comes to closing out games, we just can't do it. And we have to continue to rely on the pass, and the defense really hasn't been there or been all together outside of that, Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley years before they left. And then once they departed, the defense, it's just been middle of the road. Last year wasn't very good at all. But without the running game and that offensive line, which we tried to address this year, we haven't really been able to ever be a complete team. So I like the philosophy that our second-year GM, Bob Quinn, came in. He's building the lines. Between 2 years ago and now, we essentially have a completely new offensive line. So he's trying to really turn that part over. And I think if I had to do it, if I was a GM, I would follow that same strategy. It was really build the lines, surround Stafford with a good line, and give him a running game.
Is Abdullah the guy? Is he going to break out this year?
I have a lot of faith in Abdullah, actually. He was one of my he was one of my draft favorites going into the NFL. But with his size concern, and actually Christian McCaffrey this year, they actually had a lot of this very comparable numbers at the combine, about the same weight. But you guys have a Jonathan Stewart where the Lions don't. And so a lot of people were upset the Lions didn't draft your more prototypical power back, or just a bigger back that can kind of take, the goal line carries and just at the end of the game kind of ground and pound type deal. Abdullah's he's probably going to have to be the bell cow. I don't know if we have a ton of other options other than Zach Zenner, Dwayne Washington, both bigger backs, but they have some growing to do before I would really put them in a, kind of that bigger back role.
I like this. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford's statistics, and he's just improved from year to year. It looks like the interceptions go down every year. His completion rate, man, he had 67% completion rate in 2015, a 65% completion rate in 2016. And it seems like that they're trying to make it a more balanced team as you see those attempts go down. He had the least amount of attempts in the last 2 years of his entire career. So, it seems like they want to do those things. They just they haven't been able to execute them. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a guy who threw 24, in 2015, he threw 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Last year, 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That's without Megatron. If you can establish that running attack and you see him improving, you might be able to catch lightning in the bottle and finally beat damn Green Bay.
I know that's huge, and that's always been the Lions' roadblock. And I know a little bit those stats can be somewhat deceiving because Stafford did in this offense to kind of make up for our lack of running game. We've gone to a lot of screen passes, which have bumped up his completion percentage. And I'm not saying that's the only reason. He's become a lot more overall, and especially last year without Megatron, just a better quarterback and decision maker. Really spread the ball everywhere. We had 5 players last year with over 50 catches, which is very rare. That doesn't happen often in the NFL. So
that's pretty impressive.
It is, yeah. He spread the ball around. Everyone was wondering where all Megatron's targets were going to go, and he pretty much spread them everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if he can have a running
Marvin Jones was a great surprise, man. He was the fantasy football darling there for a long time.
He kind of tapered off in the second half of the season, but that's just because I think teams were like, "Oh, who's this guy? We gotta start covering this guy."
Yep, and he definitely started off hot at the beginning of the season, and then Golden Tate, once teams started adjusting a little bit to what Jones is doing, Tate really stepped it up and ended up being our number 1 receiver. So hopefully we can have them both be on their game all the way through next season, and Ebron can kind of step it up.
Speaking of Jones, Tony, he worked out this spring with your boy, Randy.
Who did?
Yeah.
He came to North Carolina and spent a few weeks learning from Lamoss.
Oh gosh, he's so he just got enshrined in like the Vikings honor hall or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just so fantastic, and I think it's just so underrated how good he was in so many ways, and that's crazy because we celebrate him so much. But that's all right. I got one last Lions question because I have to ask about the only people I know on other teams, Cornelius Lucas. Cornelius Lucas, is he any good?
He has struggled. Yeah, it was so promising to start. When he came in as an undrafted free agent, the Lions had to start him, and he actually did pretty well, but he's never gotten any better.
Right.
And so now he's kind of at the point where he could be cut this year just due to the fact that we brought in Cyrus Kouandjio and Greg Robinson. Cornelius Lucas counts $0. There's no dead cap if we cut him this year. So
the professor and I were calling for him for the Panthers a couple years ago.
I know.
Oh, we're okay.
Yeah, because he's a K-State guy. I got family that's big K-State fans, so we followed him there a little bit. I thought that he's injured in college and he came out of it, and like you said, he comes into the Lions and like starts out of necessity. And afterwards, guys, people were like, oh, man, this guy's pretty good. But it's sad, he's got to step it up. And it sounds like it's going to be difficult to do with that competition there.
Yeah, and that's, you asked me a couple years ago, and I had really high hopes for him. But it can't be a good sign when the Lions bring in 2 offensive tackles. It kind of shows how much faith I think that they have in him right now. And, I wish him – I wish him the best because we haven't had many undrafted free agents have the type of success that he's had. So he's solid, but he's probably more of a right tackle than anything. And there was some times last year when he really got exposed when he had to go in where he just got smoked on pretty much the first step right around the edge.
All right. Okay, look, guys, it's 3 after 10, so we're going to kind of wrap it up. We have one last segment to do, and that is our Ice Up Sun Pick, where we tell everybody somebody in the world to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Everybody's fair game. Logan, if you got a pick, you can stick around. If not, now's the time to tell everybody where they can find your work.
All right, yes. I'll probably take off here. I got to run, but if you want to go to lionlowdown.com, that's the site that I have going up. It's still in the beginning phases, but putting stuff up as much as I can. And then want to follow me at Twitter. I love interacting on Twitter. That's kind of
that's our stomping ground. So get your Twitter handle out there. You have to spell it for him though.
Yep, I will. I was just about to say it's not the easiest in the world. So it's L Lamorandier, which is for Logan Lamorandier, my name, and it's LLAMORANDIER. And if you just want to hit me up on there, I obviously have a lot of Lions content, but I love talking about the NFL in general. So appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Fantastic insight. Lamorandier Ding Dong. It sounds like that.
I've heard that before.
I'm sure you have. I knew you had. All right, man. Thanks a lot for all that insight. You have a good night. All right. Joe, can you hit us home with an ice up pick?
Yes, sir. My ice up pick this week is our boy.
Well, you went. You forgot his name.
I did.
He's so iced and dead to you. All right, Mel. We're going to Mel.
I got you. Yep, I got you. And I hope I don't have your ice up pick, or you're really going to be mad at yourself. but when you start a new job, Professor, and you go into a new company, a new role, you gotta know the lay of the land, right? You got to know who you can crack a joke with and who you got to be serious with and who is sacred and who is not, right? And if you're not a high-priced guy coming into the role, you're not going to take a shot at one of the execs on the team. So I'm going to go with low-hanging fruit here. Undrafted free agent actually signed to a futures contract with the Panthers coming into OTAs and trying to make a name for himself by taking a swing at the 4-time Pro Bowler who comes off of a concussion. Just not a smart move, right? So wide receiver Mose Frazier taking a swing at Luke Kuechly here in the at the OTAs last week. Not a smart move, man. Give you credit. We would not be talking about you right now had you not taken a swing, Kuechly. But that's not the right way to be talked about here on CatChronicles.com. So Mose Frazier taking a swing at a 4-time Pro Bowler coming off a concussion. Ice up, son.
Oh, for sure. He needs a double ice up. The only reason he's still on the team, from what I read today, is he caught a touchdown pass later in that practice, like a really amazing catch. And that's why he's still on the team, is what I read today. Tom Sorensen put out an article today, and it was really good. It was like 5 things to watch heading into training camp. And I really enjoyed the read. But my ice up pick this week goes to, God, I can't believe I forgot his name, Michael Oher.
Oh,
good old Brian Shot.
What's going
on?
Kind of
ironic.
I'm not.
Ironic you forgot his name, huh?
I'm not.
Joe.
Angry.
He's got all those meds, Joe.
Because of injury. My problem is how long this has been dragging out. I mean, it's just been dragging out and dragging out. I'm sure he wants to play, but he's got to be realistic with himself and say, is it worth it? What makes me most upset about this whole sort of thing is, the Panthers are trying to help him and wanting to help him. But I found out today, I believe in that Sorensen article that I read, Ron Rivera and Michael Oher have not spoken, since last year.
Jeez.
They've not talked. And, Ron Rivera's been saying all the right things. He's been saying, we want to make sure he's healthy. And Michael Oher's not really saying a whole bunch on his side. Honestly, I think when you see something like this, you got to wonder, is Ron Rivera mad because he thinks Michael Oher's milking this thing? You hate to say that about somebody who has such a seriously concerning injury. But
that's going to fall on Gettleman, though. I mean, it's up to Gettleman to make the decision as to when it's time.
Well, yes, but I know that Gettleman is going to consult Rivera. But to me, it says a lot that Rivera won't talk to him.
Yeah.
Hasn't talked to him. That's like somebody being frustrated with you because he's not so sure you're not milking it or taking advantage. You're not wanting to get out there and put in the work. So that's why I'm icing him up, because, he needs to go one way or the other. He needs to let the Panthers go if he's not going to play, so they can pay him what they owe him, however that deal works, and then they can move on and get another player in. You understand what I mean? If it's over, it's over, and just kind of, I want to wait and see. That can only last for so long. July 26th, we start training camp. That's when things start to get real.
Man, I tell you, watching week 2 last year against the Vikings, watching him just get bull rushed and just fall on his back like he was a kid was tough to watch. And knowing now he was going through some severe concussion stuff at the time. He was playing with a concussion. Yeah, it's hard to watch. It is time to walk away from the man.
Yeah, I think.
I don't care what kind of money you're talking about. It ain't worth your health.
Well, his safety, if nothing else. But just do it. Do it already. So, if you keep dragging this thing out, and until you do just decide to retire, I'm icing you up on the reg, son.
There you go.
Hey.
Well done, Joe.
Let me see. I think my ice up pick, Shaked says, Tony, please ice up Cure Beach, Dirty Beach Restroom. I don't know what that is, so you're going to have to give me some insight into that. All right, so my ice up pick goes to somewhere that it goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the entire Jacksonville Jaguars are still, I think, in free fall because, so at the end of last year, Jalen Ramsey and 3 guys in the secondary talked junk about their defensive coordinator and said they needed a full-on new change with Todd Walsh. Well, him and these guys got together for the very first time. Some of these guys, I think Ramsey missed, and that's his name, right?
Yeah.
I'm not mixing him up with
Ramsey?
yeah.
Yeah.
So Jalen Ramsey missed voluntary. He didn't attend the voluntary workouts, which we don't hear about that type of stuff in Carolina unless it's necessary, right? Is that we hear about players unless you're in a contract negotiation like we talked about in the past. 3 guys that call out Todd Walsh. Then Todd Walsh supposedly talks with them and teaches them, it tells them that these things need to be handled in-house. I'm icing up all of this because it's just more Jaguars. More fool's gold for you guys. Anybody who thinks all of a sudden they're going to be good, it's more fool's gold. And I just saw this, like one of the top headlines out of Jacksonville is Todd Walsh has matured, but Fowler hasn't. And you're talking about a team that just doesn't even know how to figure anything out. Fowler hasn't even played a full year just because you picked him so high. And, I mean, like, you can't dump all these expectations on one player to all of a sudden have 20 sacks or 15 sacks in a season. And a guy that was mostly athleticism in so many ways.
It's gonna be interesting to watch Tom Coughlin down there. See what he does.
Yeah. So the idea that Todd Wash, his name's Todd Wash, is, I called him Wash, is that I think it's crazy to have players talking about this, that you need a wholesale change at
crazy.
Coordinator. I think that already signals that
inmates running the asylum. Yeah.
Yes. So to the Jaguars, I say go ahead and ice up. Shockhead says, my dad and I went on Father's Day to Curry Beach.
In Wilmington, Curry Beach.
Is
that right?
Cure.
It looks, yeah. And anyway, he's saying that he's icing up the facilities. Did you guys by any chance see the video on Facebook Live of the murder or whatever it was in Myrtle Beach?
I did not.
What?
Oh my gosh, you guys got to go see this. Miranda and I. So this dude, like these guys, like this whole incident, you see somebody get in a fight, get up because he got beat up, and walk over and blast somebody, and then he hijacks a car, and it's crazy.
This is on video?
Yes. Like the dude was like, look at all these people acting a fool down here, and then he started filming a fight, and he's like on the 2nd or 3rd floor, or he's on the 4th floor of the hotel. And he's just filming these guys fighting, and all of a sudden this dude pulls out a gun, walks over to like 7 people, shoots this person. Then a security guard comes up, and he gets like shot. It's crazy town. So I'm icing up Myrtle Beach too for just being out of control.
That is out of control.
Out of control. I'll go to Atlantic Beach, but you can't swim right now. 3 people died there this weekend. I'm not going to the beach. I'm not even
What
going
happened
to
there?
Ripped currents.
Oh.
Crazy.
Wow.
All right. Guys, this is the C3.
Go to the mountains.
Yeah, exactly. Go to training camp. You will not drown there unless it's in your own sweat. Right? You'll be fine. All right, this is the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We got a big interview with Jason Peter coming out tomorrow. I ask everybody to check it out and support it. It will not be a letdown if this is something that you're interested in. Player interest or human interest story, and it doesn't get much more interesting than this. Joe Riolano, tell them where they can find you until next Tuesday.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano, and we have some interesting stuff going on the site. So please make sure you check out that interview. I promise you will enjoy it.
All right, Mel, tell them where they can hit you up before next Tuesday.
Well, 2 places you can find me. One is on Twitter at Panther Drafter, talk Panthers anytime. And then come football season, you can find me in section 351, row 18, hanging with one of my C3 boys. As I'm happy to say, I just picked up my PSLs using the Buy PSLs link on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You just go out there, hit the drop down,
And tell us, how did that experience go
it,
for you? Because that's an auction. That's like that's an off third party type thing, and I've heard a lot of good reviews about that site.
Oh, it is really awesome, man. I went out there and it's got a real interactive seat chart. You go out and pick the seats you want. You pick the parameters you want. You know, where you want to sit, the sunny side, the shady side, you know, aisle or not, and whatever. And I made a few different offers, and I actually had one that was accepted and looked like we were getting ready to do a deal. And then all of a sudden I thought that they were actually piggyback seats as opposed to side by side. So it wasn't real clear. So I backed out of that one, but then I found another set that was even better. And
what's the section again?
351.
351.
Right there by the club seats.
Right
Over
on.
on the Panthers side.
You catch him
right
there
under,
8 weeks
right
out of the
under
year, and you're going to catch Tony living on a dang couch. All right.
Come on down.
All right. My name's Tony Dunn. This is C3 Podcast. You know, if you're listening, like it, subscribe, share, and support. Check us out on Stitcher or iTunes, everywhere you get your podcasts. Help us out. Help us grow. Jason Peter coming out tomorrow. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you very much, folks.
Sweet.
But